Well, good evening and welcome, all you weirdos, all you X3D weirdos. It's so good to be with you again. And this is your buddy Dave over at MarsX3D. And boy, we got some cool stuff to look at tonight. And I see, let's see, we've got Alan from Photography, Light, and Magic, Ultraman, and who else is that? Oh, Inhabit Mars. By golly. You made it. Thank you for showing up, man. And I'm sure we'll have a few more people. Good to see you, Ultraman, and everybody else. You know, it'd be really nice if we could have kind of like a Zoom situation where you guys could actually talk to me and I could see you. But I don't know that YouTube is ever going to catch up with the times. So, golly, Ingenuity. They're having problems with that little drone, and looks like it's going to be next week before they actually try to make it lift off. Excuse me. Got a frog in my throat tonight. All the spring peepers are waking up outside. I live in a wooded area that has a swamp, and man, they go nuts at night, as long as it's warm enough. But anyway, yeah, they have to rewrite the software. Hello? That seems like kind of a panic situation, doesn't it? I mean, you think they'd maybe get that all figured out before they send it to Mars, but hey, what do I know? Michael's in. Hey, how you doing, my friend? Mimi is in. The good lady. And good to see you all. Alan, you don't have Twizzlers in Scotland? Oh my gosh, Ramona, somebody explain what a Twizzler is to him. Okay, a Twizzler, let's see. It looks like it's a 10-inch long, it looks like a straw, except it's got a spiral on the outside, a raised spiral. And they usually come in cherry or strawberry, and they're hollow in the inside. And if you bite off the ends, you can use it as a straw. That's what we always did when we were kids. Hey, Pat. And Alfie Joe Bob. How are you? Great to see all you guys. So Twizzlers are real good, and most people just love them. And yeah, you create 3D models of the images. That's very cool. And I've seen some of those. And Don's in as well. Good to see you. And Martin's stopping by as well. And as long as we have enough weirdos in the room, let's go over to a view of Ingenuity. And they're rewriting the software, trying to get it to fly. Look at those broad cord blades for that thin air. And as I understand it, the RPM on that thing is about 2,500 RPM. That's amazing. Hello, Two Worlds Medical Doctor. Thank you for stopping by tonight. A little drink here while I'm getting my voice back. And they spun it up a little bit. I think they got to 50 RPM and realized there was a problem. Now, whether they're going to be able to lift that 4-pound unit in that very, very thin air, at least we're assuming it's thin air, I don't know. But they're pretty worried about it. And they're taking it slow and easy, and that's what engineers do. You know, God bless them. They have that kind of mindset. They get everything right, and, you know, just the very fact that they landed it where they intended to, that's pretty darn good. 180 million miles or whatever the launch trajectory was. Mars is normally, 134 million miles away. But that was a long trip, and to land it within feet of where it needed to go, pretty impressive. I know a lot of times we get a little peeved at NASA for the way they hide things in the images and some of the other shenanigans that go on. Hey, James, welcome aboard. And But you know, really, there's some amazingly ingenious people working there. That crew of engineers and construction people and the people that build the rovers, and wow, it's really very impressive. And Tony's in the house. We got quite a collection of weirdos. So I'll tell you what, let's get started with a few images, because we have quite a few to go through tonight. And this first one is one of Neville Thompson's gigamacros of Percy 33, and it's a supercam image. Check it out. Now this is the context image. And you'll see this all dolled up in the episode coming up. Hey, Ricardo. Great. You know, I don't know why you don't get notifications. That's just YouTube, isn't it? But anyway, hey, Raymond's in the house as well. Welcome aboard, my friend. And you know, you're right. Somebody should have, and we assume they did, calculate the weight of the chopper with the size of the blades and the RPMs of the rotors to try to back engineer the density of the atmosphere. And if we go back and just look at that picture of ingenuity, and that came through just this week. Let me put it up there for you. Ta-da! And you can see that those blades have a very wide chord, that the chord is the front surface of the blade to the rear surface of the blade. And you can see how very much wider they are than regular drones here on Earth, because we got that nice, thick air. But anyway, back to the supercam image. And my gosh, I mean, come on. Look at the cubes. Look at the blocks. Look at all the stuff. But you know what we're interested in is that business up in the right-hand corner. Let's take a look at it. How about that? Now, what I like is in the lower third on the left. And, you know, I still haven't figured out how to make my cursor visible to you guys when I'm on the live stream. But maybe I'll get that figured out one of these days. But anyway, look at that the lower third on the left. There's that nice, crisp block with knobs and a separate piece parallel to the end. Isn't that nice? And then the big block in back not only has the 90-degree angles, but it has a divot taken out of the corner, which looks purposeful. It looks like it was carved out, which it may or may not be. And then over on the center right, see that real evenly shaped spike poking up there? That's very cool. I don't know what that is. Dale made it, by golly. Welcome aboard. Dale Rogers is a clever man who is starting to work with X3D. And we've been talking about the Pathfinder Sphinx. It's called a rock garden. And we'll be looking at that later on. And he did a really nice image of the Sphinx. He also found something he calls the mini barn. And we'll be having a look at that as well. So I'm very glad that you were able to join us, Dale. Thank you. And let's see, read some of these messages. Anyway, they should be able to get that thing off the ground, wouldn't you think? So here's another image, since we got enough weirdos on board here. And this is from the Supercam, the same Supercam image. And as we look at this, and let me tell you, the the situation I faced here. The SuperCam is like the ChemCam. It has a round image. And so when Nev or Neil do a GMAC from it, they have to include that almost a mask that goes over that when they stitch the images together. And so that's what that is. And I decided to make it a window so you could look through it into what the SuperCam was seeing. And what we're looking at here, I haven't marked it yet, is a little item. You see the big rock right in the foreground on the left? We'll go up at about 11 o'clock, and there's another big rock, a white rock kind of pointed. And in front of that rock is the anomaly we're interested in. And, you know, Tony, I also heard the same thing, that NASA has a big announcement coming out in June. But to tell you the truth, I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Well, we're going to zoom in on this anomaly now. And I call this a mystery mollusk because it's reminds me of the giant clam. It's got that wavy lip to it. Now, is that a clamshell of some kind? A piece of tech, or just a really amazing bit of erosion? And Michael, no, I haven't seen the skeleton type image from Percy. If someone has a link to that, please send it along. And look, there's Chris in the house, the master himself. And Chris, you should know about the weirdos because you am one. So when I put this image together, when I composite it for the episode, I'm going to include an image of an earthbound giant clam that have that wavy edge to the shell, just like we're seeing here. Always honored when Chris shows up. And we're back. And boy, the comments are really flying tonight. I can hardly keep up with them. Chris, since you are a master, you get a free Twizzler. It's over there by the door. Now, only those who have permission can take one. And now the guys who came early, they got two. But since you're Chris, oh, what the heck, you can have two also. Just don't put them back in the bag. I mean, eat them. Don't just suck on them and put them back in the bag. That sucks, really. Anyway, and oh well, Chris, I couldn't agree with you more. Well, maybe not. I'm actually the biggest weirdo, but you're definitely a world-class weirdo, no doubt. And I got to tell you, folks, when Chris and I and Billy Carson and all kinds of notaries showed up at the 6th Annual Mars Conference down in Mobile, man, did we have a good time. And, you know, the hangs were great. The conversations were great. And I think we even might have done a little bit of partying. I don't know. I can't really remember, which is actually a good sign. And anyway, we're going to go to context view of Percy 36 through 38, a GMAC that Nev did. And I'm doing something a little bit different with this. I'm using the actual shot of the GMAC screen. And when you go to the links, if you choose to, when I put the video up, you'll go right to this page. And now it won't be in 3D, but you can see all the anomalies clearly marked. And since this gigamacro was so wide, I had to break it into two pieces. So here's the other end of that GMAC. And we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the little things that I found. Browse, a German candy. That sounds kind of good. A fizzy candy. Boy, that would sure give you a bloated stomach, wouldn't it? Anyway, well, I have one anyway. I eat too much. But anyway, look at this. Isn't that a nice little hole in a cube? That's very cool, I think. That to me looks like a drilled hole. And we're all glad Alan is getting better. He's really had a tough pull over the last 3 weeks. Going on a month, isn't it, buddy? Oh, man, the pounding headaches and the congestion and the weakness and all that stuff. Not much fun. So we're very glad that you're rejoining the land of the living. Now, here's another one from that GMAC. Take a look at this. Isn't that cool? Now, I'm just speculating when I say these things, of course. I'm not saying this is what it is. But that looks like almost like a little flying saucer, doesn't it? Stuck in the ground. Is that a machine? And if that's erosion, how did that happen? I don't know. And while we're on this particular GMAC, while I was poking around there, and I hope most of you are seeing this in X3D because it's a totally different world in X3D. If you're just looking at them as flat pictures, they don't really look like much. But in X3D, that magic window opens onto the surface of Mars, and all of a sudden, you are mere feet away from these very strange things. And yes, Daniel, there are blocks everywhere in these Percy images. And could that block with a hole in it have happened naturally? Maybe. But what about the 90-degree angles? In fact, let's just go to that real quick. Now, granted, it's not a very clear picture. It's a blow-up, necessarily. That's the only way you can see them is you blow it up. But you can see that it's a cube that has been badly worn. And to have a cube with a perfect hole in the center at the top, well, that kind of stretches the imagination in my way of thinking. Anyway, look at this. Look at this, what looks like a carving. Or is this a machine? That is so cool. To me, anyway. That's certainly not natural. And whether it's a carving or a machine, who knows? We just don't know. Yeah, Mimi, I think you're right. Martians love drilling holes. As a matter of fact, in all seriousness, I think Chris will agree that over the years, as we've looked at thousands and thousands and thousands of images, that they were apparently masters of stone. They could do anything in stone on any scale. We see things that are huge beyond belief. And before we leave this GMAC, this one of Percy 36 through 38 that Nev did, look at this one. I love that perfect rectangular block tucked away amongst all those stones, where it's been protected from the wind for probably millennia. But look how sharp and clean. Those edges and those angles are just amazing. And as you guys know, you get to see the raw images. No one else does. Only the people who come to the hang. You see everything before it gets all dolled up with composite graphics and data and all the things that need to go into that an image to help it make sense to people. And for those of you who aren't aware, I mean, every single image in the episodes has a data bar in it that tells you everything. The title, which is always in quotes because the quotes indicate irony or that it's not what the words are indicating. That's done on purpose. And then it'll have the name, whoever pointed it out first, at least whoever I can find out pointed it out first. And then the mission, the SOL number, the person who created the Giga Macro, if that's what it's from, and then a link. And this is one of those short URLs that you can very easily type in if you don't have access to the links on YouTube in the description. Super easy to type in those short links and you go directly to the images and you can compare them and see whether I've fudged or not. So anyway, here's another one coming up. And let's see, this one is, well, I didn't write it down and I can't remember. So let's look at it anyway. This is the context view. And you know, there are all kinds of anomalies in every image. And as I've explained before, I just concentrate on the one I'm concentrating on. I leave the others for you guys to find. But seriously, once I'm done with the 3 to 5 hours per image, I know every grain of sand in that image. There's not a whole lot gets by me after that much study. But anyway, what we're looking at here is a navcam, left navcam, Giga Macro by Neil Spence, who's really coming on strong with some beautiful images. And the navcam, of course, is kind of a curvy looking image. When you stitch them all together, it gets a curve to it. And what we're looking at is go to the left edge in MarsX3D, of course, up in the middle, and come over about 1.5 inches, and there's a rock. And to go immediately to the right is another black rock. And that's what caught my eyes. And here's what it is. Look at that, absolutely flawless. I'm calling it a half pipe. Of course, it's not a pipe. It appears to be a solid chunk of rock that's been carved. And who knows what it was for? Was it a decoration? Was it the top of something? Is it hollow? I don't think so. That looks pretty solid to me. But we find things like this all the time, and especially since we landed in the middle of a destroyed city. And they're building parts everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Every image that comes back, we see more blocks. In fact, we're getting a little tired of blocks. They're pretty cool, though. I do like them, and I like to include one or two anyway, because some of them are so clean or so interesting. And to catch up on some of these messages. Ricardo has a job interview tomorrow for a new position. Well, you know what, Ricardo, as sharp as you are with all the stuff that you do with servers and the IT and all that, I think you're going to just be fine. Go in there and be yourself, and they're going to love it. And Juan Carlos de Aldo, and you're welcome, sir. I enjoy putting my time into these images. One day, when I'm not around anymore, and I don't have no plans of leaving, but there will be a body of evidence, stereographic evidence, that is going to be kind of hard to ignore. And I like to think that 15, 20, 30 years from now, that someone's going to look at that evidence, if it's still available, and say, by golly, these guys, Chris Maroney, Jimmy Roberts, John Ward, and yours truly, Mr. Gorgeous, they actually knew what they were talking about. They were actually pointing out legitimate anomalies. And yeah, you guys see all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Ricardo, you're going to be fine. And you know what? We're gonna head on up to Pathfinder, and let me just see. This is actually Twin Peaks, and I want you guys to take a good look at this. Now, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for some of you because this is a very wide-angle picture. But now look at how razor sharp this image is. And that was our crummy little Pathfinder. The first thing that landed and rolled around a little bit before it died. And look at the cameras on this thing. It's better than Percy, better than Curiosity. I mean, that's a great image. That's a good point, Raymond. If, as NASA claims, the lowest sedimentary layers inside the Gale crater are most likely to have evidence of life on Mars, why is Curiosity being driven higher and higher up Mount Sharp? Good question. Noise Magician is in the house. Welcome aboard, you strange person. And Mimi, yeah, why is the camera so good? This is Pathfinder. I've forgotten the date on that. Chris would know. It's, I think, 98, 96, 98, somewhere in there. And look how just pristine and sharp that is. I made this from a huge TIFF that's been put up on the Pathfinder site. And there'll be links to it. You can go there too. And Daniel, you're right. This is the closest thing to actually standing on the surface and looking around with your natural three-dimensional images. And that's true, Dale. Yeah, this is stitched together. Of course, it's a mosaic. But it's a very high-res mosaic. And now, this is called Twin Peaks, of course. And on the horizon, you can see the Twin Peaks of which we speak. And if you look at the left peak, right at the very point, and then you come down to ground level, you'll see a little black dot. Are you seeing it? Yeah, James says the CGI boys forgot to blur this one. Well, that's because the image is so old, and one of the image experts over there boosted this one up to its max, and man, it's beautiful. And yeah, the sky is blue. And they said for years there's no blue sky. But yeah, those are pixels. Anyway, what we're looking for is that tiny, tiny black dot beneath the peak of the left-hand peak at ground level. And if you bring your eyes there, you should be able to see it. And now, before we go to the ones that we did this week, over the last couple of days, this is an image of the Sphinx that I did, I don't know, 3 years ago maybe. And given the quality of the image I had to work with, and my lack of skills at that point, it's not too bad, really. And you can see, if you look on the left side of it, it looks like it has a structure that's divided into 3 pieces with what might be a flying buttress on the right end. You can see how it's lit by the sunlight, and a couple of arches. And then what might possibly be a sphinx, a pyramid with a head on it. You can see the eyes. Now, if that's actually what it is, I don't know. And that's the point there. Daniel mentioned the Brookings Report. They're still adhering to that ancient piece of history from, what, 1960? Oh, the public's going to collapse. Society will collapse if they find out that there's intelligent life besides us in the universe. And I think that's baloney. So anyway, that's from, this image of the Sphinx is from several years ago, 3 years at least. And now here's the image that Dale Rogers did this week from that high-res TIFF. That's pretty darn good. And of course you can see all kinds of odd structures and anomalies in this image. The rock garden is loaded with anomalies. And this TIFF is so huge and such high resolution. If you guys want to download it from the link on Friday, you'll have a field day looking for anomalies. So anyway, that's Dale Rogers. Good job. And you remember back a while ago, I told you that Dale had found what he's calling a mini barn. Red Line is in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for coming by. So here's the mini barn that Dale found. And Dale, if you're available, if you can mark that image where this little sucker is located, then I'll include it in the context view coming up. But I would need it by tomorrow in order to do that, unless I luck out and find it. But, you know, that sure looks like a structure, doesn't it? It's got a mouse hole in the bottom and these bilaterally symmetrical white lines going out around it. And I have absolutely no idea the size of this thing. I just don't know. But it's a good one. And now this last one, and we'll start over again and work through them just so you can all get a chance to see them if you want to. And it lets me kind of pick my nose off camera when you guys aren't looking. Mini bar, Mimi. No, it's a Mimi bar. You're supposed to be over there in a bikini, serving drinks, making huge tips, and keeping us well supplied. Of course, all your drinks are free. And you get paid in Twizzlers. So, not a bad deal. And it saves me having to put on a bikini. Hello, Thomas. Yes, it is small, Dale. This is much smaller. And I need to go into the analyst's notebook and and see what the metrics are. So here is and Mimi, we're not going to force you to be a bartender or anything. It's only if you feel like doing it. But I think everybody would welcome the opportunity to get know you a little better. Everyone loves their bartender. And we're going to stock a lot of Knob Creek bourbon and Jägermeister and all that. Oh, golly, could I tell you stories about Jägermeister? Red Line is a Scotchman. And I believe that Alan would be able to bring you up to speed on the best Scotch to buy. Anyway, here's my rendition of the sinks that I did today from the high-res image. And it's quite a bit better. It has a great deal more clarity than the one I did 3 or 4 years ago. And here again, you can see not only is that left side of the building divided into 3 battlements, as it were, on top. You can see the sun shining off of them. It looks like there might be one main arch in the center, a smaller arch on the left, and a flying buttress. Still, the way it's lit. And there appears to be a cover over the central arch. See how it's catching the sun? So it's sticking out a ways, at least as far as the flying buttress, because the albedo, the reflectivity, is identical. And we can see that pyramid really clearly. And if that's a vase, it's still, you can't tell. Single malt Macallan. Okay. Obviously, Ultraman knows his Scotch. And that's a good question, Raymond. I think opportunity, once the batteries are dead and then just left for a long time, I think they totally die, that they won't take a charge anymore. The electrolyte kind of fizzles out, or whatever the technical explanation is for that. But yeah, you would think, wouldn't you, that when those panels were cleaned off, that the charge would start again. And yeah, Daniel, it's, this is such a definite non-fractal structure. Way off in the distance here. Oh, what I wouldn't give for a close-up, crystal clear image. And it's amazing to me that they didn't actually just blur it out or paste sand over it. But if you'll remember, let's go back to the Twin Peaks image. Okay, here's the original panorama. And that pyramid that we were just looking at is that teeny, teeny, tiny dot beneath the peak of the left mountain or peak, whatever you want to call it. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, it's fun working on this stuff, especially when you find something good like that. And you're probably right, James. You know, just about everything that we see in these images are most likely something else. So anyway, now, before I switch the scene, key in on that tiny black dot under the peak. That is this. And to my way of thinking, that is clearly artificial. Yeah, inhabit Mars. I think you're probably right about that. That sounds like a good explanation. So we'll leave this behind for now, and we'll cycle through the images again so everyone gets a chance. Those who, I know people come and go. Everyone has lives to lead. And Noise Magician, Muhammad, I'm glad I was able to help you out there, man. Learning when to stop. You know, and that is a problem. And I certainly won't mention any names, but there are a number of anomalists in the community who overuse the burn and dodge tool. And there are certain channels on YouTube who will blatantly falsify an image in order to get clicks, which I think is despicable. And the trick there is what I've always called pixel integrity. You go down to the pixel level and you enhance what's in the pixels. You can't even see the whole picture, but you can see pixels that are dark and light and in between, and you work with them. And then when you come back, when you zoom back out, sometimes there's some real surprises in store. It's like, holy mackerel, look at that. Other times you go, that's nothing. On to the next one. And let's look at some of these notes here. Yeah, and you're correct, Raymond. The ranging data, or the z-axis, you have the x, the y, which is, going up and going sideways, vertical and lateral. Then the z-axis is the depth. Now, they do have ranging data on some of the Mastcam images, not all. They consider some of the Mastcam images stereo, even though the average stereo processor really has a problem turning them into stereos. And so sometimes you get ranging data, but mostly you're going to find it on the NavCam and the HazCam and the front and rear, excuse me, HazCams. And Ramona, you're right. As I've said many times before, life is the prime directive. We find that here on Earth. Even in the most unbelievably inhospitable places on the planet. Someone said the dirty word, third phase of moon. We find life everywhere, don't we? And indeed, some of the temperatures in Antarctica are colder than the surface of Mars, and yet we find life. So I think that life is always going to find a way to exist. It's always going to find a way to make a niche for itself, and have existence. That's a prime directive. I think if you happen to believe in a creator, that creator craves existence in every form possible within this kind of set in stone third dimensional reality we live in. Yeah, Chris is a big one for magnifiers, and they do work. That's a great way to look at these things. I just use the magnifier on the Mac, which I can ramp way up or down. And yeah, Muhammad, that's great. Upholding pixel integrity is, and just integrity, period, in this so-called business is a big deal because not a whole lot of people do it. Chris does it. Jimmy does it. A few others I could name do it. Neville Thompson, Neil Spence. All gentlemen with a lot of integrity. And you're right, Ultraman, it's all about clickbait. I was sorry to see Secure Team 10 go. I don't know all the problems he was going through. I mean, you know, with 1 million plus subscribers, that dude was making some money on YouTube. And I always enjoyed his videos. I thought they were highly entertaining, and he presented some really interesting stuff, and he was turning out sometimes 4 and 5 videos a week. I don't know that he didn't burn out a lot sooner than he did because of it. And yeah, you're right, Ricardo. Sometimes, for example, that first older image of the Sphinx in Pathfinder, I did that from different days that the Pathfinder took. You know, it moved a ways, had enough of a stereo base to where I could get a stereo image at that extreme distance. And it's only just recently that stereo images, high-res stereo images, have been put up for Pathfinder. So that's kind of fun to see, and I'm going to be going back through and seeing what I can do about that. Now that I'm learning how to convert IMG files, thanks to Alan over at Photography, Light, and Magic, I'm going to try my hand at it this weekend, I hope, because I got a show coming up with Jimmy on 2479. And I've only done I converted the anaglyph images from marslife.org into X3D, and they're fine for the large things, but really crappy for blow-ups. And so I want to get the original data and process it and do some decent blow-ups with that so that when we do the hang, you'll have some good material to look at. Redline. Gosh, I hope that's not true. Maybe it is. You know, in my world, I'm in the generation, any man who ever strikes a woman is the lowest form of life on earth. That's all I'll say about it. But I did enjoy his channel. And he uncovered an awful lot of things. Some really amazing things. Okay, let's start cycling through the images once again. And we're going to start with this week's picture of Ingenuity. And for some of you who are doing this right, you can see how broad those blades are. Meant to take a good bite out of that Martian air. Counter-rotating props to eliminate the torque factor. The torque factor cancels each prop out, cancels out the other. And Muhammad is asking, when do you use the dodge tool and when the burn tool? Well, that's just something you kind of get used to. You have to experiment with it Um, Generally speaking, if something is sticking out from the face of something, say it's a carving or something else, and you can see that it's highlighted as shadow and highlight, you can bring those out a little bit and it improves the pop, makes it look more three-dimensional in a flat image. And then you can knock back shadows in Photoshop, or you can use the dodge tool on the midtones and shadows to drop those out. The problem there is that they get kind of a brown color to them if you do that too much, and it doesn't look natural. Yep, I have a feeling that one of these days we're going to see Chris on national TV. He's been at this so long and has been so consistent and so insightful in what he does that his time is coming. And so here's the Supercam image by Neb. And you can see all the blocks in this image. But what we're looking for is in the upper right corner, which is this. That really neat block nestled down in front with the edges, parallel sides. And inhabit Mars, yeah, you're right. And that's where pixel integrity comes in. You never falsify an image. You never make it look other than what is actually there in the pixels. Now, I could, and maybe I should do this at some point, to show you what an original image looks like. It looks like it's been dipped in mud, and things are very unclear. By the time I get done, that's kind of you, Randall. Thank you for calling me a pioneer. That means I live on hardtack and prairie chicken, and I don't bathe too often. But I get your point. Thank you. But anyway, the point is not to falsify anything. You want it all to be real. Because here's the thing. Citation is really, really important. And, being able to, every video I put up, there are links down below in the description, and you can click on them and you can go right directly to the images that are in these 3Ds and see for yourself what I did to them. And I guarantee you, they're never different from what you see in the original. They're just more clear. For example, I'll bump the gamma up. I'll turn the lights on, so to speak, so the sun looks a bit brighter and everything's just lit up more. Sometimes I'll knock back shadows if there's detail inside the shadows. I'll use the dodge and burn tool to accentuate things that are sticking out or things that are sticking in, like concavities. And here's another part of the Supercam. And this is the one where I found what seems to be, what might possibly be, a seashell. And Raymond brings up a good point. He says denial of truth is pseudoscience, NASA. And I think more succinctly, there's a difference between being a cynic and being a skeptic. Take a look at this possible seashell. I don't know if it is or not. But it's got that wavy lip to it, like the giant clams do. And I agree, Ricardo. I mean, just since Percy has been on the surface, it's revealed so many manufactured items, mostly structural items, blocks, and ornamental things. It's so obvious. You know, you have to be a real dolt. But if you're a cynic, well, those are like the trolls on Facebook or elsewhere. I say, oh, those are just rocks. You guys are nuts. I don't know why I bother with you guys. That's a cynic. A skeptic is someone who looks at the evidence and then makes up his or her own mind. And that's what I think each of you are. You're skeptics. You're willing to look at the evidence, which is why you're here. Sometimes I give you things that are hard to ignore. Other times, not so much. They're borderline. But you're all grown-up weirdos. And you can make up your own mind about what something might be. So this next one is from Nev's P36, Percy 36 to 38 Gigamacro. And I just took the Gigamacro itself and converted it to 3D. And you can go to the link, and that's exactly what you'll see, except it won't be in 3D. So there are a bunch of, and this is the other side of the Gigamacro, is really long. I couldn't get it all in one picture, and unless everything was made so tiny, it just didn't make difference, you know. But here are some of the things we found. Is this nice cube with a hole right in the middle top. I thought that was kind of cool. And yeah, it's good, Ricardo, to be a walking question mark. It's okay to question everything. And yeah, inhabit Mars. I mean, we can all assign meanings to these images that we see. And almost certainly we're wrong. But as humans, we can't resist the temptation to say, oh, that's a sheep wearing a party hat, or that's a transaxle from a 38 Ford, or whatever. I mean, these things spark responses inside our visual cortex, and we assign. The problem is that some people rigidly adhere to whatever it is that they've come up with. They think, well, that's a 38 Ford. You can't tell me any different. And that's an unfortunate stance. Look at this thing. I was saying a little bit earlier, it looks a little bit like a flying saucer in X3D. Hope you're looking at it in X3D. I don't know what it is. It's not a rock. It's round. It's got that kind of a round top on it with what almost looks like windows or cooling vents or something. And then it's got that curving portion in shadow. And yeah, Sir Charles Schultz, you can Google him. I believe he was at one time the Astronomer Royal of Great Britain. But he was one of the first ones to point out seashells and animal skulls on Mars back in the 90s. And that's what they are. You don't have to use your imagination. Ricardo said it looks like a hubcap. Yeah, kind of a thick hubcap, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, back of a big speaker. That could be. Okay, here's another one we found in that Gigamacro. This is real close. It's, I have a further away view that I didn't put in here. So these are blurry, but you know, you look at that and that's purposeful. That's not erosion. Come on. Boy, wouldn't I love to see what's underneath that. Is that supposed to be a stylized animal head? Or if we tilt it to the left, does it then become a corner ornament on a building? I just don't know. And of course, in every one of these images, you'll see more than what I'm talking about. You're going to see more anomalies. And this is the last image from that Giga Macro. And I just love that pristine square-ended block nestled in among the stones. And it could be argued that the stones all around it, in back, in front, and around it, are all manufactured. Now, I believe that. And maybe many of you believe that. But I can't really present them as such because they're just not clear enough. And now we're going over to a Percy Navcam that Neil Spence did. Look at that beautiful blue sky. Those of you who've been doing this a while, you remember how they insisted Mars was that pukey brownish red color. Not so much. It's a blue sky, just like Earth. And what I was looking at here is what I call a half pipe. There it is, about the center of the image. And that is just about as clean and perfect an object as you could hope for. And in my mind, there's simply no possible way that could happen naturally. It just doesn't happen. That is something that was made by an intelligent hand. Okay, now we're coming back to Twin Peaks. You're going to have to cross your eyes a little harder on this one because it's so long and narrow. But when we were talking about this before, look how clear that image is. How pristine it is. And even back then they were showing a blue sky in Pathfinder. And you wonder, well, why are the pictures we're getting back from Spirit and Opportunity and Curiosity and even Percy look like such garbage? When this is from the late 90s and it's crystal clear. And of course we mentioned that Raymond's asking any projects in the works for you. Mars related or otherwise. I have a lot of projects going. I'm in the middle of a 2-year course in Neo-Ericksonian Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which requires a great deal of study and practice. And I'm learning to get in and out of my kayak without creating a spectacle of myself. And it's harder than you think at my age and lack of flexibility. And then I have writing projects. And I have a couple of video biographies that I'm working on. I won't tell you on who it is, so nobody steals my thunder. But I have one project in particular that very, very interesting to me. And if I can get a hold of the family and get some permissions going and do research on this, then it should be quite a project. But, and then in addition to that, I'm hoping in the near future to get my gyrocopter rating and begin flying about. But first, I promised my wife I would build raised garden beds in the backyard, but I first have to move 3 cords of wood that has been stacked there for 20 years, off and on. And I got it almost all done, and when I get the last cord out on Saturday, then I'm going to build the boxes and layer it and put in some mulch, and we're going to go nuts planting stuff, because we're old people and we like flowers and trees and bushes and butterflies and hummingbirds and all that good stuff. And I have a lot of 3D photography in store for the summer. I'm anxious to get out in my kayak up in Maine and take some 3D images. And if you're not familiar with my Facebook site, Magic Window X3D, and we publish X3D photography and conversions from people all over the world. There's some pretty cool stuff on there. And as long as you can do X3D, and if you're on Facebook, come on over and join and have a look. I mean, there's some amazing stuff there. I just put up an image a couple days ago called Bora Bora Baitfish. And I spent quite a bit of time on it. It's a conversion. And it's about as close to what I call nominal as I can get. That would be a perfect 3D conversion. And it's taken me years to get here. And I don't do it every time. But that one came out really nice, and it's quite striking. And so here is that Sphinx we were talking about. And this is an image from about 3 years ago. And it's not bad. Yeah, I stay pretty busy, Raymond. But now Dale Rogers, there's a man with projects. He's built an absolutely incredible mobility device and I believe he used to work for NASA as well. And this is basically a wheelchair that can stand up and sit down and go into any position in between turn and zero turning space. Who knows what it does? If it mixes daiquiris, we may really have a winner there. So that's one I did of the Sphinx with low-res stuff years ago. And then Dale took the high-res images that we hipped each other to, and he did this rendition of it. And that's nice. And this is an actual stereo image. As far, that first one that I showed you here, I did that from 2 different days of the Pathfinder. I did this one from 2 different days of the Pathfinder and created a stereo image from it, which is pretty close. And Ricardo, yes, I'm deeply aware of Dr. Brandenburg, although I wasn't aware that I'm referenced in the book. If that's what your statement says, I need to check that out if that's the case. But Dr. Brandenburg left a comment on last week's live hang, and that was, I thought, just incredible that a man of such exalted status and knowledge as he would touch base with the Twizzler crew here. Anyway, that's the old one. And then here's the new one. And then here's the mini barn that Dale found. He's sharing with me. I'll be putting that in the episode coming up Friday. That's pretty cool. And it's a little guy. That's not very big. I don't know how big it is. I haven't gone into the notebook to try to get metrics on this stuff. They may not even exist. But it's pretty interesting, those white marks around what might be an entrance there in the middle. Why do those things happen right in the middle? I don't know. And then here's my rendition that I did today from the high-res TIFF. Oh, I see, Ricardo. He was referencing Dr. Brandenburg's work. Dr. Brandenburg is the top of the heap. He is the man as far as anything space. And Mimi's Mini Bar, yay! We need to put a sign up and give you. And you don't have to wear a bikini. It's okay. You can wear a tuxedo, or you could wear a neoprene diving suit with tassels, or you could wear an elf suit with the hat and little curly shoes. I don't know. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And here's a rendition I did of the Sphinx today off of that high-res stereo TIFF. And you can clearly see that it's divided in 3 sections on the left. Might have windows in it just below those highlighted parts of the roof. Those weren't visible before. And that archway has some kind of a protrusion, whether it's a covering, I don't know, over it. And of course that's a pyramid, isn't it? And thank you, Raymond. I as well raise my long sword to you. Peace, safe journeys. Greetings and salutations to Princess Deja Thoris. You guys are so strange. You're my kind of people. But anyway, that's about as clear, I think, as we'll ever see this particular image, unless they put. Here I am back again. Unless they put boots on the ground and they get up close to that thing. But you know, there's so many other pyramids on Mars. Dozens, if not scores of them, and we haven't even scratched the surface. And buildings and structures and ruins and carvings and utensils and artifacts and on, and tools, even weapons. We've seen all kinds of stuff. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. And thank you, Don. I appreciate that. There are some amazing things up there. And we're almost at the magic hour where I fold my wings and go downstairs and practice saying, yes, dear. And I'm just being silly. I haven't done that in over an hour. And it's been at least an hour since I said yes, dear. But yeah, Mimi, I think you need to send us a photo or something of you tending bar. I mean, if Alexandria Occasional Cortex can tend bar and go to Congress, well, maybe you can be the official barkeeper of record for MarsX3D and the conglomerate of weirdos. Who knows? I am a silly person. I enjoy being silly. And hey, Mark, good to see you. But honeydew time, yes, sir. Yes, indeed. We had our daily Scrabble match. And I don't mind telling you, I'm about a 3rd degree black belt in Scrabble. My sister was the Scrabble champion of New Orleans. And I regularly beat her, and she'd get really, really upset with me. Because she's savagely good. But my wife, whew, man, she's good. She pasted me good tonight. And good to see every one of you. I am delighted that you take the time to show up and be part of this conglomeration, if you will. and share your thoughts with me. It means so much to me that you take time to look at the channel and leave your comments on the videos. And this is going to be a long video probably coming up. I've got a lot to do tomorrow to get this stuff all composited and assembled and lay in the soundtracks and do the intro, all of that stuff. And fortunately, I only have a few things to do tomorrow besides the video. So I'll get her done. Most of the time I make it. Sometimes I don't, but oh yeah, calling you in the kitchen to cook dinner. Yeah, I know how that goes. You guys are too much. Anyway, God bless each and every one of you. Look for the video on Friday. And if you know anybody who really, really hates Mars anomalies, turn them on to the channel. That'll fix them. This is your buddy Dave over MarsX3D. Be well.